Hello, welcome to the Paper Snob. This is Tara. Today I'm working on Stretch the Sketch. This is a hop hosted by Janet Fritz over at Galaxy Girl Creations. She chose this sketch for us to use this month, and I am going to do my usual, let's make a 2-page out of this sketch. So I have kind of a mishmash of product here. It's mostly Vicki Boutin. I am still trying to use up the Evergreen and Holly and Warm Wishes stuff that I have, and I'm down to the 6x8 paper pad and scraps and lots of embellishments. So I've got those here. That is a 2-inch heart punch, some photos. I have some craft paper, and then I have 2 sheets of Simple Stories. Is it Holly and Jolly? Holly Jolly, is that what it's called? Yes, Holly Jolly. I'm using it for the plaid side. So I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna get started on this, and I will be right back. So off camera, I went ahead and I matted my craft cardstock with the plaid. I did not gut the plaid, and the reason I didn't gut the plaid is because my sister bought a 25 pack of this beautiful plaid paper and gave me roughly half of it, and I have several sheets of it left, so I didn't really feel the need to gut it. So I matted it off camera. I took and I cut off a 1/2 inch one side and 1/4 inch off another side, so that when I matted it, I could meet the 2 craft pieces in the center and have a 1/4 inch border all the way around both sides of my layout. What I'm doing now is I'm using that punch, and I am just going to punch out a whole bunch of hearts. And yes, I could have interpreted this sketch just about any way that I wanted to, but I really loved that stitched heart border that was on the sketch. And I think I've done something like this before, where I covered an entire 12x12 sheet of paper with hearts like this and then stitched down the middle. I'm pretty sure I've done that at least once before, but I love it, and so I'm going to do it again. My biggest worry and goal is covering up the actual stitching and hearts, and I don't want to do that. So my goal will be to avoid doing that as much as possible. And so I really wanted to just use scraps to punch these hearts, but then I realized that I needed a few more colors, including some solids. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm pulling in some of the solids, the red and the green, and I do end up matting my photos with the red as well. So I'm looking now for another piece of paper. I think I decided that I didn't need any more, and I'm just gonna start laying out these hearts. I will do the stitching off camera. I will not bore you with that detail. I'm gonna go ahead and get me a couple more of this yellow print. This yellow print, that print is also in one of the stencils for this collection. I adore that print, and I would love a couple of more pieces of it. I almost hated punching out hearts with it, so I was just basically closing my eyes and doing it anyway. So I'm trying to decide the order of these patterns, trying to not get any of the same pattern side by side in either direction. It gets a little bit hard to do it that way, so I just kind of make do and just move along with it. Ideally, I would have liked to make like a visual triangle with each color, but you know, I didn't feel like I could get away with that. I felt like it was going to cause too much thinking, and I didn't want to have to do all of that thinking to do that. I don't want to do math when I scrapbook unless I have to. So now I'm just laying out these borders. And like I said, I will do the stitching off camera. The goal is to stitch right through the middle of each heart in a straight line all the way down. Initially, I try to do that without a ruler, but I end up doing it with a ruler in the end, and that works out pretty well. See, and there's where I've got that holly and berry when they're too close together. I want to avoid that, so I think I actually switched those around off camera. But, you know, now I'm just kind of making more of them just so that I have all that I intended. So that's about what it's going to look like. So now we're going to go ahead and get started with the actual layout. So I really had to play around with the configuration of the photos on this layout off camera because, as I said, I really did not want to cover up much of that stitched heart borders on here. I adore them. I wanted to showcase them as much as possible. So on the first page, you saw that I just glued down my matted photos off to the left, and that works out perfectly for me. Now, originally I was going to use those gold Vicki Boutin letters for my title, and then I was going to use these green tile letters from Freckled Fawn as a secondary title. I'm titling it Stuffed Stockings. I was going to use the gold letters for the word stuffed. Well, turns out there were no S's left in that set of thicker, so I just put them aside, and I'll have to figure out how to use them without an S. I use a lot of S's apparently, so I'm not putting these on straight. I'm putting them on wonky, and that is absolutely intentional. I do love the color of these. They match the Vicki Boutin paper very well, and I'm glad that I got to use so many of the letters. I think I had another set of these, so it's good to kind of get these used. So I'm going to go ahead and use this journaling stamp. This stamp stays on this stamp block at all times. If I ever pull out this stamp block to use another stamp on it, I actually flip it over and use the other side of the block, and I just leave that journaling stamp on there at all times. I believe it is an Allie Edwards stamp. So anyway, I decided I was going to put the photos in a line across the right hand page. It does cover up some of my hearts, but you still can tell that they're there. And off camera, when I go to glue things down, I realize I don't like the journaling block up higher than the photos, so I end up pushing the photos up as well, and it's kind of a wonky line across that right hand page. So that little Santa Claus that I have right there was a gift from a friend. She had a little baggie of them that she sat and put a whole bunch of them together, and she comes over to my house to scrapbook all the time. Hi, Daisy. And she gave myself one, and I had another friend over at the time, Joni. She gave Joni one as well. So I have had it sitting on my desk waiting for me to find something to use it on. And so I'm really glad that I get to use him on this layout. He is super cute. Daisy is also the one who made those little wood grain hearts that I had on 2 previous layouts recently in my videos, and they're absolutely gorgeous as well. So I decorated the tree just a little bit. I put some presents underneath it. I love my clusters at this point. All right, I got this layout completely finished. Off camera, I glued everything down, but I also went ahead and I moved these photos up to make a line of squares across this right-hand side and to give a little bit more space for this little cluster scene that I built here. I adore this little Santa Claus that my friend Daisy gave me, and I'm glad to see it on a page. It's awesome. I'm also glad to have used up a little bit more of this Vicki Boutin stuff that I've been trying to get through for the last year or so, so that makes me happy as well. I also didn't want to cover up too much of my stitching and hearts because I feel like these are definitely a focal point of the layout, and I know that the original sketch had a photo in the center here, but I was really struggling with photo placement for this layout, and I'm glad that I finally found a way that you can still see most of my hearts on that right hand side, and it still gives a lot of focus to that stitch design. I want to thank you for coming to my channel today. I really appreciate those of you who have helped me grow my channel. Without your help, I couldn't do this, and I am so grateful to you. Make sure that you check my description box below. There should be a list of people playing below, I'm hoping, and if not, there's a playlist. But make sure that you check those links out below, and I'll link you back to Janet's YouTube account as well. You guys have a great rest of your Sunday. Bye.